funded because we usually have a number of peak sessions at our program, and so many startups have been funded through those peak sessions. We call that peak session Collaborate Lagos. Now, I mentioned earlier that as we digitize and we move everything online, there is a need to strengthen our cybersecurity posture. So what have we done? We have launched the Lagos State Cybersecurity Advisory Council. They have a combined experience of over 80 years of cybersecurity experience across 4 continents. And they are helping to devise the Lagos State Cybersecurity Plan. We have launched the cybersecurity function in the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, and they have begun to protect a number of our workloads across the states. We have also launched the cybersecurity guidelines for Lagos State. If we go to cyberguide.lagosstate.gov.ng, small and medium-sized businesses can begin to see how they can protect their businesses from cyber attacks. Please, ladies and gentlemen of the press, let us understand that even small and medium-sized businesses today are digitizing. The question for us is, how do we protect all of their data? Because it's all of our data. How do they give trusted and reliable services online? The cyber guide of Lagos State can help them do that. If any medium-sized business is looking for how to protect their online real estate, the cyber guide of lagosstate.gov.ng can put them through step-by-step processes on how to protect their online environment. It is very important that small and medium-sized businesses visit this site because cybersecurity legislation is coming. And so the cyber guide will help you prepare for the eventual legislation. The idea we have in Lagos State is that we just don't want to release legislation like that, especially in innovation, science, and technology, because technology is always changing. So how do we enable businesses across all sectors to prepare for technology legislation? We help them with guides. And that's why we released the AI guidelines. And we also released the cybersecurity guidelines of Lagos so that businesses across all sectors can begin to prepare themselves for the cybersecurity legislation and the AI legislation that will come. And so in Lagos State as well, we are looking to build the first state security operations center. That is under discussion currently, and we believe that the Cybersecurity Operations Center of Lagos will not only protect Lagos businesses or the government, but it will protect mission critical infrastructure. Think of hospitals, think of airports, think of manufacturing outfits. They also need protection. As I mentioned last year, most people buy their electricity online now, right? All of those systems need protection. And that is why we are building the Security Operations Center of Lagos, so that all of this critical infrastructure are protected digitally, as a lot of these parts of the economy move online. But as a stopgap, a lot of businesses need to go to our cyber guide so that they prepare themselves for what is coming. Of course, we are the biggest data protection compliance state in the Federation. Today, we have over 109 data protection officers, which means that Lagos State is the place where your data is the safest. Due to the Nigerian Data Protection Acts of 2023 and 2024, all states must adhere to periodic data protection audits, must have data protection officers, and must conduct consistent training. I'm proud to say that Lagos State is complying fully with all of these stipulations. And as such, we have consistent data protection audits. We have over 109 data protection officers. We have continuous sensitization and awareness workshops. So how do government officials collect our data? We have all of those trainings, sensitizations, and exercises, and we conduct periodic audits that we submit to the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. And we are the #1 compliant state for data protection in the country. This is due to the work that we do. So recently, we have also been looking at enhancing science and technology education within schools. We recently launched a Science Experience Center in the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology as an experiential laboratory for secondary schools and primary schools to be able to come and experience some technology innovation. We have things like 3D printers in there. This is to galvanize and to encourage young peoples that want to go into science and to kind of catalyze their creative juices. And so the Science Experience Center in the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology is open to all young peoples and students across all of the secondary schools and primary schools in Lagos. Continuing in the line of encouraging science and technology in primary and secondary schools, we have the Young Nigerian Scientists Presidential Award that we always participate in, right? This is a competition, a national competition that wants to encourage science and technology education, invention, innovation within schools. And I must say, because of our participation, we've scored high on the national competition. In 2024, Lagos State got the first position. And in 2025, we got the third position. I think other states saw that they needed to catch up. But I think in 2026, we've gone back for the first position. And so there's a lot of encouragement into science and technology in our secondary schools. We do quite a bit of competition, and we also sponsor some schools in terms of STEM education and innovation interventions. Of course, as we expand digitization, smart city across the state, it's important that the Alausa campus, that's the seat of government, is also connected to the grid. And so we have been doing our campus network upgrade, where we are connecting each office with Wi-Fi and fiber optic connectivity. And this is a project that still continues today. We moved from old Cat5 to Cat6 cables to beef up our LAN architecture, and that project continues today. We expect that within a few short years, every single office within the Alausa campus will be connected to high-capacity fiber. This is very important because it also goes to service delivery. If we are not able to service the citizens well because of internet, of course, that will not reflect well on us. So it's very important that the Alausa campus is also connected to robust Wi-Fi and high-capacity fiber. But of course, within the Alausa campus, you need your credentials, your state credentials to be able to access this. It's not open to everybody. However, it is open to employees of the state. Now, I want to talk on something very important. That's the Lagos State Science Research and Innovation Council. The Science Research and Innovation Council started operations in 2020. It's a collective of scientific, technology, and academia minds. The idea was to manage the innovation fund for the state and to intervene within the startup ecosystem and the research and development ecosystem. And so in 2020, we started funding technology startups in the state. So when you hear that Lagos State is the #1 region in the world or growing technology ecosystem in the world, according to dealroom.co, it is part and parcel to what the government has achieved and what it has enabled. And so, if we go to some of the stats there, we funded over 80 R&D projects in universities. So, as I mentioned last year to some of the press men in here, Lagos State is the biggest funder of research and development in universities. And so, some of this research work has gone on to become products and services for Lagosians. Companies have been built through some of the funding that we've given universities. And we funded over 75 startups in fintech, agri-tech, construction tech, circular economy, recycling, and the likes. And this funding round continues. As you know, startups can apply through the Restream website. That's restream.lagosstate.gov.ng. So people building scientific products, innovative products in fintech, in the industry, across the board. The funding is open. The idea is we want to stimulate local invention and local industry. I think this is one of the most important interventions as a state. And as I challenged reporters last year, please let me know if another state is doing this. If they are, then we will beef up our efforts again to continue to make sure that Lagos State is the #1 state supporter of startups and innovative companies in Nigeria. And as you can see, we are being recognized globally now. Lagos State is also the #1 receiver of venture capital funds in Nigeria and across sub-Saharan Africa. Lagos State startups attract the most funding in Africa. This is because of the ingenuity of Lagosians and, of course, some of the investment that Lagos State has made in the past. As I would remind you, ladies and gentlemen of the press, part of why Yaba grew as a Silicon Valley for Nigeria was because of the partnership between the One and Lagos State government back in 2009. That particular intervention saw the mushrooming of a lot of startups there, and we have continued supporting startups through our work in last week. So the proof is in the pudding. I think the next slide. Oh yes, in 2026, we've had 2 call-outs. We've processed over 240 startup applications. And in the next slide, you'll see some of our beneficiaries. As they say, go and verify. I'm sure you recognize some of the logos and some of the companies that we've supported there. I will continue this work. The governor has dedicated increasing the innovation fund for the state. I think it's a testament to this administration's support of the innovation ecosystem. As we know, some of the things that we used to do were from startups that we supported. If you look at the lab ride application, that was a startup supported in the early days of the administration. Even the carry that we used to Ladies and gentlemen, is fast spent, but I wanted to touch on a very important part of the Lagos State Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, and that is our LASRA Lag ID card project. I want to touch on this because, as we know, Nigeria is becoming a truly federated entity, which means states are responsible for the well-being of their citizens. Now, if state governments are increasingly responsible for the welfare of their citizens, it is important that states can identify everybody within their borders. That is why the Land ID card project is very, very important. The LASRA ID card project is an effort to be able to identify all Lagosians. Today, I'm sure people will say, of course, NIN is also doing that work. Of course, NIN is doing that work. But there is a level of granularity that Lagos State requires to be able to perform its economic duties to its citizens. And that is why Lagos State needs to maintain its own database of identity. This will help with economic planning. It will help with the deployment of resources to areas that need it the most. And so today, let me give some numbers. We've been able to enroll over 6.8 million negotiations. Of that number, we have about 4.2 million adults in the database and over 2.5 million children within the LASRA identity database, right? This database already has helped us to deploy welfare packages, has helped us to scale out the Ilera Eco, that's the medical insurance for Lagosians. It is also helping us security. As you can see, this database is very, very important for the planning of Lagos State. And of course, our target is to capture every single person within Lagos State's borders. And as you know, there is also a LASRA law, right? Which means that in performing many, many economic duties as a citizen, you need your LASRA card. And so we continue enrollment and to make sure that we as Lagosians know who is in our states, we can plan appropriately, and we can deploy the resources that will enable Lagos State to be a globally livable city. Ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the efforts that we've been making in the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology that we've been able to capture. Of course, there's a whole lot more, but I think these are some of the most important that is of concern to the Lagosians. Thank you very much.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us give another deserving round of applause to the Honorable Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Technology, and so to bring insights on the growth and achievement of the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology in making Lagos State the technical hub, the largest technical hub in West Africa. Without wasting much of our time, we've seen that from the drawing board to the scoreboard, Lagos has really innovation and technology through the roof. From Lagos State being the most digitized state in the country, to the involvement of the state city, to the paperless system, which saves funds and space, among other projects. Now, without further ado, we are going to move to the question segment. This is how this works. We'll have two questions. For the first phase, we have just two questions. And if you've got questions, you mention your name, the media houses you're representing, followed by the question. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Adiola. We are just only asking two questions. In your speech, I just want you to elaborate on it. You talked about 250,000 visitors coming in monthly. How do you get that? I just want you to elaborate on it. Then the second one, there is fiber optics that Lagos State government has staged and will turn around Lagos State. And I just want to know if how many how many phone telecoms have benefited from it. Because I know everything has benefited from it. I just want you to elaborate on it. That's all.
Thank you. Next question, please. Okay, that's
Thank you very much for those questions. I'll take them as they came. So the first question was on the 250,000 online visitors we have on our online platform. So we have an analytics page where we see daily visitors across our online platforms, and we're able to tell how many people are visiting our platforms, what they are clicking on, what they are using, some of the services that they are interacting with. So we have back-end analytics that is able to tell us, the number of visitors, what they are doing, and things of that nature. And I think the back-end analytics is very robust. We continue to monitor it every single day, and we respond to problems quite quickly. The second question is on the fiber optic deployments. I mentioned in, I think, the last press briefing about the progress that we've made. We've deployed about 3,000 kilometers of fiber optic duct infrastructure, right? I think there's a difference that ladies and gentlemen of the press need to understand. There is actual fiber and there's duct infrastructure. Duct infrastructure, what we've done is to enable other fiber optic deployers in the States to deploy their own fiber, right? So the state has its own fiber, and the private enterprises also have their own fiber. So the duct infrastructure was to enable them an easier deployment process, right? To be able to deploy their fiber. So the state has done about 3,000 of the duct infrastructure and almost about 3,000 of its own fiber as well. But as of today, there are other fiber infrastructure players also deploying fiber that the state is working with. I will tell you today, there are discussions for 5,000 kilometers as we speak in the state. And some of these fiber optic that has been deployed already has reached places like Alimosho. They've reached places in Ikorodu. They've been able to reach places as far as Ibeju. So there is fiber optic in many of those areas, but we are also enabling private sector deployment because government cannot lay everything. That's the truth. Government is not able to lay everything. So we have to enable the private sector to also deploy. And in Lagos's own view, we prefer that the private sector lay fiber to everywhere. So there are discussions now for over 5,000 kilometers of fiber with private sector partners across the state. And I think that would be in the best interest of Lagosians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. With that, we've come to the end of the presentation. May I respectfully invite the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, the tech-savvy, the innovative Mr. Adenika Eobe, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you first for your questions and your commitment to accuracy. And they also appreciate your commitment at informing the general public and giving them informed about activities of the government. We want to appreciate you and thank you for your cooperation as well. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Now, we begin to the total session. We have two honorable commissioners and special advisors to the government.